Amazing. We are live on Facebook. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Atomic Self-Love Project. It's the very first show of this show, actually. My name is Grace Harris. I'm your host for tonight, and I'll be hosting the Atomic Self-Love Project for the next 3 months. And I have a very special guest coming with us tonight, and I'm going to introduce her in a minute for you guys and ladies. But tonight, I really just wanted to have a little bit of an introduction about the project itself, which is called the Atomic Self-Love. And because it's my first time, I wanted to get to know you a little bit better. So say hello on the chat and say, and let us know where you're from in Australia, or if you're from a different part of the world, let us know. So as I said, my name is Grace Harris, and I am from the Gold Coast of Australia. Well, actually, I live on the border, just between Coolangatta and Benora Point. And I have been really looking forward to this talk with you, the initial show tonight, because I feel that as women especially, it's so important for us during this time of the COVID-19 to really get to know ourselves better, a lot better. So first of all, why are we calling this show the Atomic Self-Love Project? Well, what I've found in my conversations, in my many conversations with ordinary women doing extraordinary results in their lives, is that the one thing that really creates those extraordinary results are the self-love practices that they are embedding in their lifestyle on a daily basis. Now, in my studies about the self-love practices of people is this, very interesting, is that we all love ourselves, right from the very beginning until the end. Everything that we do, the decisions that we make, the actions that we take, the thoughts that we think about are all designed to love and nurture and protect ourselves. And the only little problem with that is that we go through a long time in our lives from when we're children until, 30s, 40s, that everything that we do is designed because we thought that was the best for us. Therefore, what we thought were really, inherited belief systems, inherited habits, if you will. And so we might buy a house because that's what everybody else was doing. We might marry someone because it might be what our families have, really conditioned us to do, is to marry at a certain age, marry a certain type of person, until we realize that the things that we have done, the decisions that we have made, may not have been really fully congruent and aligned to who we truly are. And so we get to know that no matter how much we love ourselves, it is also very important that our self-love paradigm comes from a fearless side rather than a fear-based side. But one thing though is this: in life, we go through some certain situations that are quite critical. They're in, sometimes you can find yourself in dire straits. I know I have. I've had 2 near-death experiences in my life. And in the second instance, I actually had to really radically change my life. I had to remove people, places, and experiences so I can change the trajectory of my life. And what I found was this: so many people go through critical points in their lives and change their lives. The only scary part about those critical points is that you may not survive it. In my case, I could have not survived my near-death experience. And so I'm so passionate about what is it that makes us create a decision that's, we're not having to think whether it's fear-based or fearless, that it's just true to us. Basically, atomic self-love is your core value. And I love telling this story about Wonder Woman. It was released in 2017. Who's seen it? I just see some people. Hi, Beth from Tasmania. Hi, Sarita from Geraldton. Wow. And hi, Samantha from Melbourne. Hi, Marianne. Good evening to you. Yeah, so as I was saying, the core value. Now, in the old days, there's a philosophy called atomism, and I found this in the movie Wonder Woman that was released in 2017. If you've seen the movie, please let me know. But there's this last scene in the last 5 minutes of the movie, maybe 10 minutes, when Wonder Woman was fighting Ares, and Ares is her father. Now, she didn't know Ares all her life because her mother protected her away from Ares. Ares is like this evil, destructive person. But when Ares and Wonder Woman, when father and daughter met, Ares wanted to take Wonder Woman on board with him to destroy the world. But she's Wonder Woman, right? She doesn't want to do that. She wants to protect us. And so they had this showdown, they had this fight, and then Wonder Woman was so exhausted, she wanted to give up. And she was wrapped around in this metal around her body by Ares, and she couldn't break through. She was just, it looked like she was going to give up on us. I was just like watching, like, oh no, she's going to be defeated. But what happens is this. She met this guy, Steve. Steve is a human being. He said he's got no superpowers. And about like half an hour before she had that showdown with Ares, her and Steve were having a conversation, an intense conversation. And Steve said to Wonder Woman, you know, it's not about what you believe. It's about love. It's about who you love, what you love, and how do you love. And so when she was wrapped up in this metal thing from her father Ares to defeat her, she saw the love of her life, Steve, fly off in an airplane with bombs in that airplane, sacrificing his life so that he can take away all the bombs that would kill the entire human race. And so Wonder Woman's just this look on her face, like, Steve, it's like the love of her, the one love of her life. And so she realized that it's got nothing to do with whether I believe I am strong or I'm not strong, or whether I believe that Ares is stronger than me, I'm not good enough to defeat him. It's not about what I believe, but it's about the superpower, the core value that I have. And my core value is love. And that's what Wonder Woman realized. And she just broke free. And it was like, and she defeated Ares. And ta-da, we all lived happily ever after. That's why we're still alive. So it's a movie, but it's such a powerful metaphor for women especially. And we are faced by critical situations all the time. And sometimes it's not about us. It's a critical situation for our children, for our family member, for our parents, for our neighbors, for our clients. And we need to be able to access our core value, the self-love practice that we have, so that we're not needing to evaluate whether am I coming from a fear-based paradigm of self-love or am I coming from a fearless paradigms of self-love. Sometimes we don't have time for that. Now, the idea of this show, the Atomic Self-Love Project, is for me to be able to have conversations with ordinary women creating extraordinary results in their lives. And in effect, they are becoming the higher and truer versions of themselves. Now, over the course of 3 months, we're going to talk about different topics, but tonight we are talking about your money mindset. Well, like it or not, ladies, one of the most important relationships that we need to cultivate is our relationship with money. Yes, you heard me right. And so I've got the founder of the Female MSI Club with me tonight. If you're wondering what MSI stands for, it stands for Multiple Sources of Income. Now, before I actually introduce her, I want to just tell you the concept of atomism. This is pre-Socrates, and if you're not familiar with Socrates, he's a Greek philosopher. And before him, there was a man called Democritus or something like that. And so before atom was even in science, because in science atom is the smallest particle until they discovered subatomic particles, then it's not the smallest anymore. But in atomism, in the philosophy of atomism, what they found and what they believed is that the quality of your life is a result of the kind of atoms that compose your life. And so for me, what that means is the manifestations in your life, your relationships, your health, your career, your business, your spirituality, all these things in your life, the quality of them, they are a reflection of the kind of atoms of the smallest core values. And atom as a word, it actually means uncuttable. It's so small that you can't cut it anymore. It is the smallest form of it. And so, let me just give you examples of non-atomic self-love manifestations. And so, we have it, we have so much of it, right? We've got non-atomic self-love practices. For me, for example, I don't know, I love massages. I love going to spas. I love going out to have a meal in a cafe. I love having a lot of girl stuff like lotions, and even our relationships and our material things like houses and cars. Those are manifestations of our self-love practices. We've become so committed and disciplined in creating them. It's great. It's absolutely great. However, these outward values that define us can be taken away from us, right? And so they are great manifestations of paradigms of self-love, of how we look after ourselves. But we want to go back to a very basic and very core kind of self-love, so that it's something that can't be taken away from us. And the reason that this is important, and I know you can resonate with this, because it's not really so much about us, but because there are so many people. We are women, we are so powerful, we are nurturing. There are so many people that rely on our power, that they see us as, no matter what's going on in here, we may be having, a day that we're going through some hormonal changes. We may even be going through a decade where we're actually going through hormonal changes. So our bodies are changing all the time. And so it doesn't matter what we're going through. We are still, considered as one of the strongest people that our family members, our friends can really look up to, as as the pinnacle of a family unit, or the center of the tribe that you're creating. And so it's important that we have access to our atomic self-love values, because the more that we have access to that, then our lives become so much more joyful, no matter what goes on. No matter that we have lockdowns, we have restrictions, no matter that there are illnesses. Hi, Kathy from Canada. I'm so passionate about having these conversations over the course of the next 3 months. And some of the topics that we're going to cover, other than our topic for the money tonight, is, your sugar cravings. We'll be covering Kundalini awakening. We'll be covering self-sustainable living made easy. We'll have a guest who'll be covering with us recovering from child trauma and family trauma, on how to also handle that, and so much more. And what I invite you to do is, on the comments below, if you do have something, a burning desire to talk about or to listen about a particular topic, let me know on the chat, because I'd love to know what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, and what's really important for you. And because everything that happens in our lives, you will find that they are closely correlated to how we manifest all of them, coming from our core values, which is the atomic value, the atomic type of self-love. And so if you have any questions or any of those comments that you want me to discuss, put them in the comments. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest for tonight. Now, Sarah McColden is based in the United Kingdom, and Sarah is the founder of the Female MSI Club. And Sarah is someone who has really made the decision to create an extraordinary life out of a life that was, at the time, at a certain period of time, it was what we may call, a little bit ordinary. And so to illustrate that, Sarah tells me a story that at some point in her life, her family and herself were living in a small space. I think it was an apartment. And then she was pursuing her higher self by, studying a master's degree. But although this was kind of like a distance course, it required her to attend 3 nights of the weeknights of the week for a hands-on training. And so she was away from her little kids a lot of time. And they were having to downgrade their lifestyle so she can upgrade her skills But then the imbalance was so severe and so painful because she couldn't see the people that was most important to her and her children. And so many of us are in this situation either in the past or maybe now, or we know someone who's in that situation. And I feel the pain because I was in that pain myself a few years ago. And what happened with Sarah is that something shifted in her in the midst of that pain of discomfort of a life that she didn't desire. She had a shift. She had a mind shift, and she thought about people like, you know, the people that we look up to, like Richard Branson and Kiyosaki. These people who we know to be able to manifest material wealth so that it works for their lifestyle. And she thought about it real hard and strong, like, why do they do that and why am I not doing that? What is the difference? And the reality is this, and she found a reality that there is no difference between them and us. It's a matter of decision. And so tonight I am so excited to have Sarah share her story and me ask her some juicy questions in behalf of you. Yeah, so without further ado, Sarah McColden, welcome to the Atomic Self-Love Project. How are you, Sarah?
Thank you very much, Grace. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yes,
amazing.
Good.
I am so honored that you are here speaking with me again. We have done this not long ago, but our listeners would love to get to know you a little bit more. And so tell us about the Female MSI Club and your passion for empowering women to become financially independent, financially literate, financially empowered, and, you know, and go out there and live the life of their dreams.
Yeah, so the Female MSI Club, like you said, MSI stands for multiple sources of income, was created because I was frustrated seeing friends and seeing people who I knew, and also from my own experience of having these limiting beliefs and little financial knowledge, right? No, I didn't know anything about the financial world at all. And I think most of the people I knew, most of the women anyway, also didn't know. But I felt like we're only going to be able to create that freedom if we empower ourselves through knowledge, right? So by and coming together in a community of women, that I think the community is the most important part of that. You know, when we come together and we are working together towards a better future, toward creating that wealth ourselves, then we tend to do it. You know, we do the work, we stay accountable to ourselves. And yeah, so the community, the Female MSI Club, consists of a community of women across the world. You know, we've got members in all countries. So, and it's super exciting. I love it.
And what I love about it is we get to learn things that more often than not we are conditioned not to think about. And what strikes me is that these things that we are conditioned not to really think about, especially money mindset, are one of the most important things that we should know and be empowered to embrace. For example, because I know not everyone has the same attitude towards creating money, keeping money, and making money grow. I know that we have because I've taken this test in Sarah's group. We have what we call the sacred money archetypes. And I found out myself that, you know, I am, my top 3 sacred money archetypes are accumulator, maverick, and alchemist. And it really resonates with me, the maverick and the alchemist, because coming from my background, I grew up, I was in an impoverished child, you could say. I was abandoned at the age of 6. I went through a lot of childhood trauma. And so money for me was not something that was abundant. But for some reason, you know, I've been able to really, that side of my life when it comes to creating the resources that I need in order that I can provide for myself and my children was not so much the biggest, the biggest hurdle for me. And that was because, and I've always like found that interesting because I did come from a third world poor country. I was born in southern Philippines. But when I took the test, I then, it made sense to me that my attitude with money at the time when I took it, my number one was Maverick. And Maverick is sort of someone who is comfortable in taking a certain level of risk. And it's always been something that I have been able to do, buying properties and, in investing in short or long term things that I could see would create something, and which I did. And I had also a little bit of education through seeing my uncles do their business, but I was also in the finance industry for a very long time. But I see a lot of women as well who are different because they tend to grow their money in a different way. But some people also like to just spend, and for some reason they can't find out why it doesn't stay with them. This is why it's so important to understand. So Sarah, the most delicious part for me in this conversation is the sacred money archetype, but I think the more important part is about why do we have the life that we have money wise. If we feel that we are poor, why do we feel that we're poor? If we feel that we are abundant, why do we feel that way? Like, what is the difference? How is that?
Well, I think it comes down to our beliefs, right? And if you think about the majority of the world, I think it's 96% of people work for money, and it's only a very small percentage of people who have their money work for them, right? And that's because of our mindsets, because of how we've been brought up. If you think about our money stories, these aren't, we don't just believe things because we believe them. We've been taught, we've been, and not necessarily like as like sitting in a classroom and being taught things, but I mean like things that you've heard from your mother growing up, things that you've heard from your father or your father figure, things that you've heard from your grandparents, things that you've seen on the TV, like all of these things create our reality, right? And until we become aware, it does seem like it's just the truth, right? I mean, there's so many different money beliefs, and I can just reel a few off here, which might be things like, I just want to help people, I don't care about the money, or money can't buy me happiness, or money is evil, rich people are greedy, money causes arguments, wealthy people do illegal things, giving to the poor encourages laziness. Like all of these things, we've been taught that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
we heard them from someone else, and I think it's important to get to a place where we are aware in ourselves that yes, we've heard them said to us, but then we must come to a place where we're strong enough to question, okay, how true is that for me? How much do I resonate with that? Is that what I really want to carry? Is that a good place to start? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we recognize our negative beliefs, I think one of the first things that we need to do is recognize that there are so many wonderful things that money can do, and really take that attitude with us, rather than take the negative attitude with us, because that difference, that switch, is going to help you to make those the further steps that you need to take in order to get to where you want to be.
Interesting, because it's so true, because I heard you say this once, and I loved it. You said something like, money is an energy, and that energy will always grow depending on how you handle that energy. And it's so true for me, because for me, money is like an amplifier of your personality. So I see people who has, I have worked, as I said before, in the bank for a long time. And I see people who have such a really big bank account balance, but they have, the attitude that they have towards money is, it could be that, it may have been that they don't want to spend money because, I don't know, they just scared. They're not generous to their family. They just have this belief that if they part with their money, they're gonna be poor. So there's no helping others. There's no investing wisely. The money just sits there. And so and what happens is that it just amplifies that fear. But I also seen people, with very small bank balance, but they have this attitude towards creation. What can I use this money for? So that I can create something magical. What is, how is it going to work for my idea? And when they have this fun attitude, this glowing vibration about them, the money just multiplies itself and it grows. So it amplifies the personality of the person who is holding the money. So the money itself does not have, it's just like, it's an invented currency, right? Paper, coins, whatever. But the energy and the attitude that we have with that, that is what matters, isn't it? Yeah. So Sarah, tell me, when you had the switch in your mind, when you recognized, the pattern about your old conditioning and beliefs about money, and when you recognized that, hang on a second, this is not working for me. I need to think in a different way. Can you please show us, the basic steps that you did in order to really continue with the switch in your mindset when it comes to the money?
Sure. I mean, I think I'd probably been recognizing it in some way for a really long time, for years, or I started to recognize that this had been going on for years. And I was doing a coaching program, and we were studying some books like The Science of Getting Rich and Working with the Law, which is all about working with the universal laws. And for me, I think that's really when I started to understand that if I was always worried about money, that I would never not worry about money. Right? It's so simple. So what I started to recognize was all of those times that I was worrying about money, and turned it around. And actually I got a piece of paper and I wrote down, whatever it was that I was worried about. And then on the other side, I wrote down the opposite, positive affirmation, if you will, the thing that I really needed to be saying to myself over and over and over again in order to switch that around. And, I think that doing that really helped, because it's helped me to recognize so many, so many negative beliefs, not just around money, but around so many things in my life, right? And allowed me to recognize that I can't do everything. I don't want to do everything, but I can do anything that I want to do, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely doing that, and also changing what the people, the people who I hung around with as well, who I associated with, changing that, because I think like holding on to people who also have that same kind of negative mindset, if they're not willing to also rethink things themselves, you know, it's not, it wasn't, I knew it wasn't, I knew holding on to that wasn't going to allow me to grow, because it's all about our personal growth in the end, right? It's the personal growth that allows us to change. It allows us to earn, it allows us to earn the money. But like you say, there's no point in having a billion. It's not about the money, really. It's about what you can do with the money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I love when you said, I don't want to do everything, but the truth is, I can do anything that I put my heart into. So it's not about that it's putting no limitations in what you can create, as long as you're willing to go through the shift. And it's big when you say, when you say about making the decision to change the people that you're associating with. I mean, we can talk about this all day, but the fact is, we still have to go out there and actually do the process of slowly extricating the people that are, reciting the same mantras that are not good for us, that we have. I know for a fact, for example, for myself, when I was 14 years old, I had a little bit of cash as a high school. I used to just scrimp money here and there. And then one of my friends was just, she was in dire straits. She really needed help. And I didn't have anything to do with my money, and my friend needed it. And so I said, look, you need it more, and when you can, you give it back to me. And so that was that. And then I had a conversation with an authority figure in the family, and just to share that, hey, I don't actually have any of the money that I've saved, but I'll get it back because I was just helping a friend out. And it was a good feeling because the friend needed it. And the reaction that I got from that parent authority was really intense. They said to me, why did you do that? Why do you give away money? Now you've got no safety net. You've got nothing. When you fall, you'll fall straight down. It was so scary. I was like 14 years old, and it's a sensitive young person. And so from there, I didn't realize what it did to me. But later on in my life, I recognized patterns where I would work so hard, like like I would kill myself for work, because I was always scared that if I didn't commit to work, I have no safety net. There's nothing that will catch me, or no one who will be there for me, because that's what was said to me when I believed it so much without even thinking about it, until, one day when I had like radical experiences and critical moments, like I was mentioning before half an hour ago, when I really started to question my belief systems, including my belief about money. And I remember this time when I came out of a hospital, I was a hospital bed. I had an overdose in anesthesia, and I made it through, and I came back, and I was so grateful. And the first thing that I did once I got better from the operation was I booked a flight to Los Angeles. And at the time, before the operation, I would have thought that a trip to America was like 10 years away, because I was working in a financial institution where the mantra and the belief was this, is that what you do is you pay off your mortgage first before you live your life. That's all you do. You work, you get paid, you pay off your mortgage, you buy your groceries, repeat for the next 10, 20 years, and then you retire, you start to enjoy your life. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. But when I had the near-death experience, I'm like, oh, shit, excuse my French, but what if I didn't wake up and I've never got to travel? And so really, like, what are you going to do with dead money if it's not amplifying your personality, if it's not if it's not creating and amplifying the beautiful person that is in you? And so it's that kind of why, if you will, if anyone there needs, a strong why as to why should you be committed to really remove the people that you are associating with, that are, pulling down money habits or your money mindset. And I think one of the things that Sarah also mentioned is that the commitment to educating yourself, like getting a crash course, getting into a course. But one of the things that I can attest in my own personal growth is the sisterhood and the community. And in the female MSI club, Sarah, how often do you get together with the reading and the master class? What do you do in the
Sure,
group?
yeah. We have a meeting once a week, so on a Wednesday evening, a UK time, so it's suitable for people in Australia and New Zealand on Thursday mornings, and also people in North America. So it's a really good time. But every meetup is a little bit different. Just as an example, you were just speaking about your why there. Last Wednesday, we did a whole session on our why, because we know, right, that if it's not strong enough, if we don't realize what our why is, why are we here on this planet? Like, why were we put here on Earth? And what do we really want to do with our lives? What's our legacy going to be? All of these things. What's our purpose? So we did some work around that, and this week we're going to be looking at, it's a mastermind on creating multiple sources of income, and then the following week we're having a speaker come in and speak, a woman who's got her own very successful business, and then we have a book club as well. And we have another bonus night on a Sunday, once a month, where we play a game, learning about the financial world, which is super fun. Woo-hoo. And then, of course, we've got our Facebook group as well, where lots of things happen. But one of the things in the Facebook group, I think, as well, like in terms of money, is gratitude, right? I think it's really important to have that be a big part of your life, and be grateful for the money that comes to you as it comes to you, and be grateful when it goes away from you, like when you spend it, or or however you do it. So there's that nice flow. Like, money is supposed to flow as well. It's not supposed to be held on to, if you know what I mean. It's not doing any good. It needs to be circulated, right?
Yes, yes. That's so powerful. The gratitude for as it comes and as it goes. There's just that one little word there is as it comes. So it's unconditional. It's almost like unconditional love. Like, as it comes, be grateful for it, and as it goes, know that it's done something. It's served a purpose. So this is an exciting segue. Can you take us through some of the sacred money archetype? I guess first of all, some of our listeners out there might not be familiar with this. What is exactly a sacred money archetype? What's that, and what are they?
Sure. So it's like a common thing throughout the world. So it's a way of thinking about money. So there are 8 different archetypes. Accumulator is one of them: maverick, celebrity, nurturer, connector, romantic, alchemist, and ruler. And it's really a lens, a way of seeing the world, right? And all of us have all 8 of them within us, right? We're all a little bit of all of them, but we're more one than the rest. And really, it's our top 3. So you can take an assessment, a quiz, and learn what your archetypes are, and you score yourself accordingly. And then you'll find out what your top 3 archetypes are. And it's really interesting, because there's like a really positive side to the archetype, and there's also like a shadow side. And I think, like, for me, I realized when I took the assessment and I started learning about archetypes that for a lot of my life, I'd been living in that shadow side. And I think just so, like, I think we do until we learn, until we go through that. And it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And I don't think anything comes automatically. Now, I mean, I'm saying that lots of things come automatically, but when we're changing, it's a practice, right? And until it becomes automatic, and it could take a long time for that practice to have that effect. But yeah, so I've got some archetypes, our archetypes actually here, so my top 3 archetypes, Grace and I have similar archetypes. So my top 3 archetypes are celebrity, maverick, and accumulator, and yours are maverick, alchemist, and accumulator, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So in that way, we are.
So tell us about the maverick, because we have that as a comment. So and before you do, what really it's so interesting when you said about we all have the 8 sacred money archetypes in us, but we have the top 3 that really stands out as our way of looking at the world. But also to be aware that most of the time we may be living in the shadow side of that archetype. So the archetype itself is like a superpower that we have. It's having a superpower, but most of the time we're using it in a way that's not really serving us yet, until we learn to then shift that lens that we use into a more productive and empowering way. So as I mentioned before, I found out when I found out I was maverick, it made sense because I had a certain level of comfort with taking risks. For example, the first property that I bought, I betted on it that I would sell it within 6 months for a profit, and someone told me that that's a bit ambitious. But I said, no, I think I'm going to back myself on this one. And some of the reasons that I had in my mind, for example, was that I bargained for it so much because I found out that the owner, there was a few different reasons that the owner was so desperate to sell it. But also when I was selling it, it was like during the time of the GFC in 2008, everyone was telling me don't sell it because the market just crashed. And I had a feeling that in the area that I was selling it, that the property market hasn't quite dipped just yet. And I had a feeling that there are people who were looking for that niche type of place that I was selling. And sure enough, it did come to fruition. So it's sort of like a combination of certain level comfortable in risk, but also an intuition kind of thing. But knowing also that there may have been times in my life where I was in the shadow side of maverick. So I'm really curious about, just as an example, how can we see this as part of us if we talk about the maverick and maybe one other sacred money archetype. So let's pick 2. Start wherever you like, Sarah.
Sure. So, well, the maverick, like you say, is a risk taker, a rebel with a cause, and somebody who fights for the underdog. And I can really see that. I can see that in myself. I can see that in you as well. We're attracted to get rich opportunities. We don't cave in to the opinions of others. We look to see how we can gain that financial advantage. We're happy to take a financial risk in exchange for the potential of a big win, right? And we're quite rebellious too. Yeah. So, when it comes to the, like that shadow side, we can, we can find it balance a difficulty or a challenge, right? Because we can have extreme financial highs and extreme financial lows. So like a maverick living in the shadow side would be maybe somebody who loves to gamble, right? Or somebody who needs to win approval, whose self-worth is based, and self-esteem and all of that is based on approval from others, and also that deception. But then we're really good at taking risks, and and paying attention to the numbers and to the financial details of things, and dealing with that with complexity.
Yeah. So what's the other archetype that I'm curious about is the romantic. Like, how do you romance money? What is that? What's the romantic sacred money archetype, Miss Sarah McColden?
Yeah. So the romantic, is like your inner hedonist, right? So somebody who loves to buy things, like they get like this a gratification, and from buying things, because it makes them feel good. And you know that money is to be enjoyed. You don't maybe see the point in saving money, because you think, well, I deserve this. Money's here to help me to enjoy life. And a romantic will indulge themselves and others. Romantics are very generous with their money, and can really spoil people. But they can avoid making changes to their behavior, even though they might recognize that it would benefit them to do so, right? So in terms of that shadow side as well, I mean, it the whole thing about, well, I'm going to buy this because I deserve it. It's almost like masking feelings of being underappreciated or feeling unloved, so it covers up that sort of stuff. But again, like the gifts of the romantic, it are being very generous, and being able to enjoy the things that money can buy as well, which is really the opposite of the accumulator, who loves to hold on to things, who gets pleasure in accumulating and not letting the flow happen.
It just struck me that, could it be possible that our attitude towards different people, when we use different archetypes with different people, could it be that I am a romantic when it comes to to one person, but then to another person I would be? Is that possible at all? Or like how we behave?
I think perhaps in certain circumstances, but I wouldn't say. I think you'll find that your top archetypes really shine through in your personality. Like once you get to know what the archetypes are, you could probably point out, like, to those people who are closest to you, you could probably know before they even take the assessment what their top archetypes are, right?
So I'm curious, if I was someone who is in the transition phase of my life, where I am starting to be aware of my money mindset that have been conditioned to me, that I want to change. For example, I've been conditioned to think that money is the root of all evil, but I don't want to think that way anymore, because I want to have a good relationship with the way that I make and create and keep and accumulate money. And so then is it possible for me to learn or to enhance or to strengthen a particular archetype that's not necessarily my number one? Could I do that? Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and I mean, am doing a course actually at the moment, a program. I'm in the middle of a program with about eight people, and this is what we're doing. We are, you know, doing work on our archetypes and strengthening the gifts that we've got and letting go of that, the stuff that's stopping us, which is really important. So yeah, I mean, so that's what you have to do if you want to change something. You've got to become conscious of it, right? First, before you can do anything, you've got to become conscious of what it is that you want to change, and catch yourself in those thoughts or whatever it, or those actions or whatever it is, and create new ones.
Yeah. Sarah, I want to ask you one important question that, you know, perhaps we can all use as a let's say a moral compass, because money can get very controversial. Okay, so let's uncontroversialize money, and let's ask the question: what does self-love have to do with money mindset?
Sure. So, well, I would say that um, becoming financially free is self-love, or becoming financially independent. You know, like money mindset. Like you cannot live your best life, your life of the most fullest expression, right?
Yeah.
If you've got these negative things going on inside your mind, and you're not doing anything about it, right? It's one thing to have negative stuff going on. It's another thing to just be blindly living, you know. And it's another thing as well to be consciously working on it. So yeah, I think in that way, it's definitely self-love. You know, I mean, I can remember back in 2007, you know, I had I was in recovery. I'd had an addiction, and anyway, I moved to New Zealand in 2007. I had about a year clean or something by that point, and I went to Hong Kong actually on the way there to visit a friend of mine, and he spent a lot of money, right? Well, it was a lot of money to me at the time, and he would spend it on me, like on dinner or whatever it was, and I felt horrible. Instead of feeling like amazing, that, you know, like I was being treated to all of these amazing dinners, and, you know, being taken around Hong Kong and being shown everything, I felt like I didn't deserve it, you know. And that's kind of where I've come from, you know. Like I've had to work my way through all of that stuff inside me to get to a better place. Now I've gone on a tangent and I don't remember what the point of that
No,
was.
it totally makes sense, because the full expression of the life that you desire cannot be realized if you don't have the connection, the connectivity between money mindset and self-love. And you're telling this story where I can just imagine, like, your friend was so happy to, he was a romantic, obviously, to, you know, to pamper you. And here you are thinking you weren't worthy
I
of all the
remember him saying
pampering.
that, actually, Grace. I remember him when he lived in London, because I met him in recovery, and he bought me an iPod. Yeah, when I was living here, and he was like, "I just want to spoil you," and I thought, wow. But I felt, yeah, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I deserved it. I felt like unworthy, and I don't think that's like a rare thing. I think a lot of people will find when they dig deep, when they ask themselves the right questions, that they will uncover that sort of stuff themselves. And then once you're aware, then you can start to do something about it.
Amazing. Because like if you stayed in that I'm not worthy of all this pampering mindset, then the energy would have stayed like that. Like you
Yeah.
always had this resistance towards a life of full expression. And you know, so it's the awareness was integral there. I think that it's our money mindset is an integral part of honoring our values and our desire for a life of full expression. Because I do, you know, I mean, I was raised in a religious environment, but I'm not practicing any religion at the moment. I'm a spiritual person, but religion-wise, I don't particularly have one. But I know there are some faith-based community out there that are really big on tithing, where you know strictly, even if you may have to sacrifice, I don't know, a meal in the household for the purpose of tithing. Tithing is like giving back to the church. And I think that you have, this is, for me, it was something that I had to really be aware about, because when I was back in the day, when I was in that, you know, in that situation where I was led to think that way, and I felt so much discomfort in my own situation where, oh, so I don't even have pencils for school or the necessary things that I have. But I, you know, so and so here I am passionate about becoming educated. Here I am passionate about being able to amplify the ideas in my head. But then, you know, it was the one, I think that what I'm trying to say here is that you know that there is something you need to change when deep inside your gut and your heart, there is a little bit of a resistance. When it doesn't sit right, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, I'm not here to tell you what's right or what's wrong, but it's about when it doesn't feel right here and there's a resistance, and then that's the time that when you need to look into the what's going on here. And specifically tonight, we're talking about your money mindset. And amazing conversation. So Sarah, how can we have more of you? How can we get connected to, well, number one, we want to find out what our sacred money archetype is, and also be in this community where we can get started in you know, in just setting our pathway to creating a better money mindset, better community, and yeah, better life. Let us know.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. So if you want to take the Sacred Money Archetypes quiz, then you can head over to my Facebook group. It's called Crack Your Money Code, so you can create financial freedom. You can go in there, and in the topics section, there's a link to the Sacred Money Archetypes quiz. And then when you're in there and you've taken the quiz, let us know what your top 3 money archetypes are. That's super exciting. And then, of course, you know, if you want to join the female MSI club, again, you know, stay in that Crack Your Money Code group, because, you know, we do a lot of work in there. So actually, I'm going to be doing a little workshop in about a week and a half, over a few days, looking more in depth about our money stories. You know, this is what we've been talking about here, like, where do our beliefs come from, and what are they, so that we can consciously start to make the changes. And then, of course, you can go to the femalemsiclub.com to learn more about the female MSI club, and you can also join through that link too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alrighty, ladies, so we will leave you with that. And if you want to find out more, make sure that the links are on the comments in this live video into the Crack Your Money Code group. And yeah, I'm Grace Harris, your host for tonight. I will be back with you on Sunday next week again. And next week we are speaking with Charmaine about your sugar craving. Okay, so we're talking to women who are really wanting to find out what lies behind these cravings and how we can stop them. And especially if you're pre-diabetic and if you've got someone, a loved one that you know that may benefit as well, invite them over to the Atomic Self-Love Project, 7:15 p.m. Next Sunday. And we will see you again. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.